Very good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tanushri, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to this highly relevant and future-focused webinar on clinical research careers beyond traditional roles in 2026, AI digital trials and global opportunities. Very good evening, Nasreen. Very good evening, Shisai. Very good evening, Anu. I can see so many of you are joining. Please quickly join so that we can begin with our today's session, today's webinar. So I hope you all are doing good. As we all know that clinical research today is evolving rapidly. The field is no longer limited to conventional monitoring roles alone. And with the integration of artificial intelligence, digital trial platforms, remote monitoring systems, and increasingly global demand, entirely new career pathways are opening up for life sciences, pharmacy, biotechnology, and healthcare graduates. So today's webinar has been carefully designed to help you understand where the clinical research industry is moving in 2026, which roles are growing fastest, what new skills employers are expecting, and how you can prepare for both Indian and international opportunities. To enlighten on this today, we have with us three excellent speakers. We have with us Dr. Brijesh Kumar Mishra, sir, who holds PhD in Biotechnology, Department of Medicine, University College of Medical Sciences, University of Delhi. He's an experienced and professionally qualified clinical researcher with a demonstrated track record of over 15 plus years in clinical research and the regulatory domain, project management, regulatory submissions, data analysis, medical writing, communication, and administrative work related to healthcare and medical research. Currently, he's working as a clinical research manager, Translumina Therapeutics Private Limited. Dr. Brijesh sir will talk about artificial intelligence and digital transformation in clinical trials in his session. Also, we have with us Mrs. Kavita ma'am, who is a dedicated clinical research professional with 2 years of hands-on experience in clinical research and clinical operations. With a strong foundation in good clinical practice guidelines and regulatory requirements, Ms. Kavita has supported the planning, coordination, and execution of clinical trials across various phases. In her session, she will address the global career pathways and skills for international clinical research opportunities. We are also joined by Ms. Gitanjali ma'am, who holds a master's degree in pharmacy and brings 3.5 years of diverse experience across multiple domains, with strong academic exposure in pharmaceutical sciences and clinical research. Currently, she is working with Biotechnica as an academic support specialist, pharmacovigilance, and clinical research. Ms. Gitanjali, in a session, will speak on clinical research career landscape in 2026 beyond traditional CRA roles. We are pleased to welcome you, Dr. Brijesh Kumar sir, Gitanjali ma'am, and Kavita ma'am, and we look forward to learning from your valuable insights. So before we begin with the webinar sessions, I request all the attendees to please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box at any time during the webinar, and we'll address them during the live Q&A session after the presentations. So let's begin this insightful journey into the evolving world of clinical research. I request Gitanjali ma'am to kindly begin with the presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, ma'am. Let me share my screen. So just confirm me if it's like once it is visible. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, yes, ma'am. It's perfectly visible.
All right. Thank you. So, all right. So good evening, everyone. And welcome to today's webinar on clinical research careers. So, in this webinar for the next 1 hour, we are going to talk about, careers beyond the traditional paths. So, not the usual ones. We are going to talk about the upcoming career roles in clinical research. So, we have seen technologies are evolving. AI is taking its place everywhere, even in healthcare clinical research. It is going to play a major role. We can say it is going to have its part. So, and everything is being digitalized, right? So, and every day new clinical trials are coming up. So we will be talking about how careers have evolved and what are the different career paths you can have in the upcoming days, or let's say in the future, with respect to clinical research. So we will talk about it in a very simple and quick way. So today we'll be discussing on these four topics. So just a quick overview of clinical research, and so we'll see how the evolution happened, the difference between traditional paths and what are the new career pathways. So how the evolution happened all these years, and we'll see the high demand domains, that is the five major domains of clinical research. So which is going to be CDM, PV, RA, medical writing, and DCT, that is decentralized trials. So we will look into it. So starting with, so what is research is all about? So any research which is done on humans, it could be for a drug, for a device, for a vaccine, right? So, and what we are going to test there, so we are going to make sure, is it safe, right? Is it working fine? Is it giving the required effect? Whether it's having a proper efficacy or not, right? Whether it is potent enough. And of course the quality matters. So trials are conducted to make sure the patients, right? So the ultimate the endpoint, patients receive good quality medicines, obviously backed up by few regulatory agencies for every country, right? We have ICH international guidelines and also regulatory authorities of each country, right? So like the FDA, EMA, or CDSCO. So we will look at it one by one. Okay, give me a second. All right. So the evolution. So what used to be the traditional, the pathway, right? So pathway into clinical research. So this clinical trial assistant, so where the role requires to dealing with generally the documentation part or the administration part, right? So who will be working in an office based role. So next comes the clinical research coordinator, who's more involved into hospitals, dealing with patients, the doctors and everybody, right? So and next comes the clinical research associates, who is which the role which is more into monitoring the trial activities. So this used to be the entry point for all the people who are aspiring to enter into clinical research. So all these days, this was the entry point where you work for a few years, you gain experience, you become a team lead or a manager, or you handle a trial on it and a few people with you. So your role gets into a project manager, so you become the head of a trial. So this is how the pathway used to be, right? So this is what the traditional CRA pathways used to be. So now let's look at what was the drawbacks in this. So drawbacks: travel heavy, which means every person who is a CRA, so they have to visit a lot of hospitals. So it's a very travel hectic role, right? So requires a lot of travel that might not be convenient for all of them, right? So even though they have an interest in clinical research, they might not be able to travel that frequently. Saturation in entry level roles, because everybody is focused on these roles. Already there is a saturation happening for this roles, which is making the job market competitive, right? Slow growth. So growth doesn't happen in just quick, maybe just 1 year or 2 years. It takes time. So growth in a clinical research takes time, and uh, unfortunately, people don't have that much patience, right? So these are few limitations in the traditional roles. So now when we talk about the evolution, right, how the careers have evolved in the days. So what is changing? Digital transformation. So we know every single thing is being digitized nowadays. Every single document, every single files, storage, records, everything is getting digitalized, right? So even signatures are being digitalized now. So we are using e-signatures now instead of the paperworks, right? So this is a big transformation, including AI and automation. So AI is, making its mark in every part of healthcare. So next is we are dealing with real world data. So we are not relying on a data which can take time to collect, and then we are going to analyze. So instead of that, we are moving to a approach which is on a real time basis. So we are collecting data on a real time basis and performing the analysis. So decentralized trials, which means the trials can still be conducted with the comfort of the patient. For example, it can be conducted at the patient's place of their home, right? So that is a new approach which is being coming up, and patient centric approaches. So more focus is going on to the patient side, right? Not just documentation, or not just the perspective from a doctor or a someone who is involved in a trial. So we are more focusing on getting the information directly from patient. So all these are some of the places where, or points where the change is happening. So, what skills we require when we have to enter into clinical research? Something that you have to be, you have to know skills for handling the data, right? So, clinical research involves a lot of data, we can say. So, handling the data, learning few tools which are used in clinical research, for example, any of the data capture systems, or it could be an AI tool, which could be one of the future roles here in research, and of course, regulatory knowledge, the guideline knowledge. So all this will help you stand out in your career paths. So as we saw, so we know clinical research has so many streams, right? So all these are a part of clinical research, right? So CDM, that is clinical data management, which involves managing all the clinical data. So PV, we will talk about each of these in the upcoming slides. So there is a domain of regulatory affairs and medical writing, and also decentralized trial operations. So we will look at it one by one. All right, so starting with clinical data management, right? So sorry, there was something. I hope my screen is still all right.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Okay.
visible.
Okay, thank you. All right, so starting with clinical data management. So, what do people do in a clinical data management? See, these five streams, whatever we have seen, so it is another path where you can enter clinical research, right? So, all these are a part of research, and it gives you an alternative ways where you can enter instead of focusing on just a CRA role or a trial assistant role. So these streams are a part of clinical research where it gives you entry, but into the, you will just have to know the basics, the skills whichever is required, so which will help you, and which will help your entry into clinical research. So what do people do in a clinical data management? So whatever data we get from the patients, so we, a single patient can actually have hundreds of data with them, right? So every single thing is considered as a data: a patient's age, a patient's weight, for example, their HbA1c level. So every single thing is considered as a data. So the CDM people, what they usually do, what is their role here is, so they are the persons who manage the data, right? So manage the data and make sure the data, whatever is collected, is accurate, the information is complete, it's error free, right? So the data is trustable, or we can say it's reliable, right? For example, so let's say when the data is not good, definitely the quality of the trial is also a question mark there, right? So this can lead to a lot of trouble, and the companies may not get a approval from the regulatory authorities. So that's why data quality is an important factor here. All right. So what are the tools we are going to use in CDM? So it requires the knowledge of metadata, Oracle, or any. So these are the EDC systems, which means the electronic data capture systems, which is used by CDM. So this will be the skills you need to know. So talking about what are the roles. So in a clinical data management, what are the upcoming roles which is going to play a role in the future, right? So from 2026 we can say, right? So somebody who is knowing data science and AI. So I'm so sorry. Yeah. Knowing the knowledge of data science, AI, so artificial intelligence. So these two are going to play a major role when we talk about data analysis, right? So usage of algorithms. So if you're someone who knows the knowledge of data science or AI, like you have a little tech background, so definitely that is an added advantage. And this upcoming role, so is going to be a game changer for you, right? So we also have roles coming up with risk-based specialists, right? Risk-based quality management. So here we are not relying on, the event occurs and then we are going to react to it. So here the focus is going to be on a proactive approach. So, it's like predicting the risk beforehand and working on it. So these are some roles where it is going to come up. So CDM, if you are someone who is interested in handling data, so then I think this CDM role would be best option for you. So talking about salary trends for a entry level graduate, you can expect somewhere between 3 to 6 LPA, and for a mid level it can raise from 8 to 15 LPA. So the salary trends vary depending on the company, depending on your location, your skills, the skill what you have, right? So depending on all these, it can vary between these ranges. So now talking about the second one, pharmacovigilance and drug safety. So nothing but making sure that the drugs during the trials and even after the trials, it is still safe for the patients, right? So dealing with drug safety, so making sure the drug is always safe, always on a safer side, right? So minimizing the adverse events. So we are trying to gather the adverse event reports and signal detection. So signal detection is nothing but finding out new information from a particular data, right? So it could be anything. So there could be people can find a new adverse event for a drug, or any new trends that are happening, any new risk factors. So these are some of the roles of someone who is going to work in a PV. So what tools you need to know when you talk about PV is the databases or the softwares, right? So the Argus, IRIS-G, or Wiki based. So these are some tools you need to know. And when we talk about the upcoming roles with specific to PV, so um, one such example is a safety scientists. So not just processing a case, but preparing a safety reports as well. So focusing on safety reports, right? And PV systems and automation specialists. So as I said, AI and automation is going to come up everywhere, right? So here, a little bit of tech knowledge, right? So where they can extract data and do data analysis, or set up an automation task, so which is going to help us speed up the work, reduces time and everything. So that is again a very good option. And here also we have roles which is based on risk management, right? So with a proactive approach, we are going to design few plans to minimize the risk. So we are going to proactively have a plan, design it, and work accordingly. So basically, a proactive approach, we can say. All right. So now, when we talk about salary trends, so more or less similar. As a fresher, you will be getting around 2.5 to 5 LPA, and when you have good experience, like let's say 3 or 4 years, you can actually get a good pay of 10 to 18 LPA, depending on your skills and your expertise. So now next we have is the regulatory affairs. So when we talk about regulatory affairs is, so these are the people who are going to be the bridge. So bridge between the companies, like the sponsor company or the CROs, along with, sponsor companies and the CROs and the regulatory authorities. So like our FDA or EMA. So what they do is they have to make sure every single thing is, every single document, every single application is in compliance with the regulations, the guidelines required, right? So, and they are also responsible for submitting the dossiers, preparation and submission of the dossiers when a new drug is being investigated. So key roles, when we talk about new roles or the upcoming roles with specific to RA. So first thing, when we talk about RA specialist, so again involves preparation of dossiers, like wherever the application is going to be submitted. So there's another interesting role of this regulatory intelligence manager. So what they do is, like, it's something like which is going to involve tracking the real time changes in the regulations. So worldwide, every country has their own regulations, and it keeps on changing, right? So new regulations come up, new rules come up, right? So this role involves the work, like, you keep tracking the changes in the regulations and help the sponsor companies in effectively launching the trials or carrying out the trials. So basically a time saving approach or time saving way. And we also have a role of regulatory operations manager, where they are going to handle the operations part, basically the submission, right? And salary trend is more or less like a fresher is going to get around 4 to 7 LPA, and a senior role can pay you around 25 to, 12 to 25 LPA. The next one, decentralized trial operation. So where the trial is not going to happen in a one single place, but instead it can happen at a patient's home also. Okay, basically we say it as a remote trial operations, right? So how this is going to be carried out, usage of telemedicines, for example, a video consultation, right? Wearables like your smartwatches, getting e-consent, so that's what I said, e-signatures, and all electronic documentation, and remote monitoring. So remotely, from the patient's home itself, trials can be monitored. And when we talk about the key roles, so operations manager, who is going to be responsible for carrying out the trial. So how, the planning of a trial, for example, okay? So how it has to be done, how it is going to be convenient to the patient. So patient experience lead is someone who will be designing a trial inconvenient to the patient, so keeping the patient in their minds, they will be planning the trial. And vendor technology manager is someone who's going to manage the vendors in the trial, right? So handling of vendors. So these are all some roles which are not the usual ones. So salary trend, you can see it can be between 5 to 20 LPA. So the last one we have is medical writing. So medical writing. So if you're someone who are good at preparing a document, who can do a good writing of a document. So what you're going to prepare, you will be doing a protocol, preparing a protocol, clinical study report, which is usually done at the end of the trial, preparation of safety reports, or publication of any information, right? So similarly, roles, what we can expect here is medical writer, so which is going to be preparing all the documentation part, right? So preparing of protocol, writing the protocol, and everything. Similarly, regulatory medical writer, so where you have a knowledge of regulatory knowledge, the guidelines, and This is an add-on advantage role, right? And patient engagement and plain language specialist. So now we have, documents which are written in different languages, not just English, but different languages, like regional ones as well. So if you're someone who knows any other language, like I'm just giving an example. If you're someone who knows German or Japanese, definitely that's going to be an add-on advantage. So salary trend is going to be around, starting will be around 3 to 6 LPA, which can raise up to 20. All right. So future trends. So what is going to play a role in the future here is the AI. So AI incorporating in every field, where the AI does the job and reduces the manual effort. Automation, where repetitive tasks are required, automation is replacing it. And real world evidence. So, through remote monitoring, real time data can be collected. And we know personalized medicine, for example, in specific cases like genetic disorders, or it could be for cancer. So, the companies are focusing more on personalized medicines. So I'll just quickly wind up here. So talking about the summary and key takeaways for this session is going to be that don't just focus on only the traditional roles. So you have different paths here where you can enter clinical research, right? So knowing and knowledge of technology, AI or automation or any other skills, even if you're from if you have a little tech knowledge, then definitely that is going to be an add-on advantage, right? So have some patience. So salary, when you have a different skill, which is going to be the future, then yes, your salary growth is also going to be high, right? So it's all about transformation now, not just the old school uh, skills or roles here. So you need to learn skills, you need to learn technology, so which will definitely help you in your career path. So that was it from my end. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Gitanjali ma'am, for such a wonderful and insightful session on clinical research career landscape in 2026. It was really very informative. Thank you so much. We now move over to our second session, and for that, I would like to invite Dr. Brijesh Kumar, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so thank you so much, Tanusri, for giving a kind introduction. And I would definitely like to thank Biotechnica for looping me in for this very, very important topic, that is AI and digital trials and the role of AI in the upcoming clinical research. So I will be sharing my screen and then we will be discussing
Sure,
it
sir.
more. I hope it's visible.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's perfectly visible.
It's perfectly visible. Thank you. Okay, so now as we know that artificial intelligence is growing in a very rapid manner, and it's a in every field, not in only clinical research, and it is becoming one of the main source of support. But I would definitely like to clarify here that this is artificial intelligence is only to support us in doing the clinical research in a better way. It's not going to replace the clinical researchers who are working here. So first of the question is why we need clinical research. Why can't we move ahead with our manual technique which we are doing? So as per the current data, around 80% of the trial are facing the delays in the terms of their duration. Suppose we have planned that this study will be completed within a span of 2 years, so that is not happening in 80% of the cases. And even in 30% of the cases the trial fails, we have to stop the trial because of some inefficiency in the operational term. And to conduct a trial, the amount which is required is huge. You can see that. So what is our target? We have to reduce the timelines. We have to improve the accuracy of the trials, and for this we will definitely need AI. So before going to the AI tools or the digital platform, I would like to share the basics milestone which are required or which are necessary to conduct any trial. You might be aware of all these steps. The first thing that we decide that what sort of study we are going to plan, what will be our endpoints, what will be our objective, what sort of study we are going to do, whether this is a prospective study or this will be a retrospective study. What will be the overall design of the study? Will it be multicentric, single-centric, case control, cross-sectional, observational, whatever the thing are there? What sort of study will be helpful in achieving the uh, target which we are keeping in our mind? So the first step is study design. Once we are clear with that, we prepare a protocol and all the necessary documents which are required for the trial. And then when we are ready with the documentation part, I mean protocol, CRF, ICF, brochures, etc., and we finalize the sites where we are going to do the study, then we prepare a dossier. Dossier is a set of documents which is submitted for the EC approval in India, and globally there are different levels like IRB approvals are there, central EC approvals are there. So for that we will have to provide all the documents in a proper way so that our study can be reviewed and a proper approval can be granted, which will be the key to initiate any study. So that is the second major milestone. And coming back to third milestone, so once we receive the approval, we have to start enrolling the patient. So recruiting patients means, suppose we have to keep a timeline that till 1 year we will recruit the patient, and then for the another set of 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, we are going to follow up the patient to understand how our drug, device, or any other uh, technology which we are going to test is working in terms of their safety and efficacy. So that is the recruitment phase where most of the trial is struggling. During the enrollment and the follow-up, we have to do the continuously monitoring whether the data which are being collected in the study is of that quality which is going to provide us that sort of results which is required to meet the endpoints of the protocol or not. So for that, a continuous monitoring by CRA and experts are required. So that is a fourth major milestone or major criteria which is required for a clinical trial. And after we complete the data collections, we do all the monitoring, we do the data cleaning, and now we do have a set of data. But now we have to analyze it. So for the analysis purpose, definitely a lot of time is required, and then definitely we come up with some results, and then we are going to submit this submission in the sense to any regulatory body, or in the sense of publishing it in a good reviewed uh, journal. So all this falls under the condition of submissions. So these are the major six parameters which are important or which are the evident of conducting a clinical trial. So now we will see that how AI is going to help us in all the major milestones. So if I talk about the study designs, so there are so many instances, examples where we receive the comments from the regulatory body or the EC committee that this protocol is not as per the MDR or MDCG or as per the WHO or whatever the guidelines which we are following. So definitely to remove the manual errors in the protocol, there are several AI softwares, or you can say there are tools which are mentioned in the slide, like Clinions is there, or Transcelerate by Pharma is there. They are basically, they help you to design a good protocol. Definitely at the end, we will have to review it to finalize whether it is as per the standard or not. So these are the apps which not only saves our time, but definitely it increases the accuracy of the documents which are prepared for the study, and so the chances of getting any query or getting any delay can be avoided. So now these platforms are being used in a routine manner. Now coming to the regulatory approval, as I told, there are a bunch of documents with and all the documents are important. So if you will not provide all the documents which are required, definitely you are not going to get the approval. So even in the GCP certificate, or you are going to submit MRC, browser, IB, so many things are there. So insurance protocol, ICF, CRF, you know everything. So all those documents are complete or not. So there are some NLP based document generation softwares are there, so which helps you to scan and provide you the status that yeah, the all the complete document which is required as per the regulatory guidelines are uh, there or not. So these are the softwares which are also generally used to attain the accuracy level. Now coming to the major part, recruitment. So in the recruitment, definitely manually screening the patients, checking the medical records, whether the patient is getting fulfilled in terms of inclusion and exclusion criteria, and if they are eligible to be taken to be enrolled in the study. So it definitely takes lots of time, and not even time, sometimes we do some mistakes also in terms of selecting a wrong patient or missing a potential subject for the study. So for that, there are some AI tools which can scan the health reports or the genomic data of the patients, and then they can match it with your protocol that whether this will be a suitable candidate for the enrollment or not. So based on their inputs, it becomes easier and definitely more suitable patients are taken in the study. So that definitely improves the patient identifications, and even the recruitment efficiency is increased by 30 to 50%. And in some of the large cohort study also, it has been seen that some chatbot recruitment process are taken care of, in which the patients are being screened on the basis of their information which they are providing to the chatbot, and if they are suitable, then they are recruited in the study. Now coming to the monitoring role, which basically is a role of a CRA. So in the monitoring, a lot of monetary aspects are there, lots of efforts are there. So now the means now the companies are shifting to web-based monitoring technology. What we do there, we use some softwares like Wearables are there, ePro is there. So what they do, we connect with the virtually, and we request them for the access of their data, and then we assess that all the data are complete. If there is anything missing, or whatever the endpoints which we are looking for in the protocol will be met from this data or not, if there is any outliers. So all these things that software can easily tell you, and it can definitely save a lot of time and lot of money, because if we visit the site, we have to scan ourselves all the documents, and we have to check whether this data is as per the normal range or guidelines, or it is an outlier. So a lot of efforts and a lot of skills and time is required for that, for making it easier and making it more effective. Definitely these softwares which are mentioned, which are these are getting very much useful for all this purpose. Now coming to the second last milestone of the clinical trial. So the thing is, when you got the data in your hand, now there is a lot of data cleaning which is required. And if you are going to do it manually, it is going to take months to complete the data analysis purpose, because there will be a lot of missing data will be there, lot of analysis will be there. Despite of continuous monitoring, these data increpancies will be there, definitely. So to make it more robust, to make it more accurate, definitely there are some softwares, mostly SaaS softwares are there, and other platforms are there which can do the data cleaning for you, so that and it can do in minutes or in hours. So definitely a lot of time will be saved, and there will be sort of accuracy. And if there will be any adverse event or the trends are there, definitely it can detect and it can provide you where we are going wrong, and whether the requirement of re-reviewing the data is there or not. So all those answers can be easily achieved through these softwares. So it definitely gives you a simple and adequate reports which is required for the preparation of reports, or for the for the preparation of manuscript for publication purpose. Now coming to the last steps, the submission, in which we need report whatever the study which we have done, whether how many patients were enrolled, what was the follow-up rate, what was the data, all the things in a manner which is suitable for the guidelines. And for all these things, there are a specific set of uh, content or guidelines that how we have to write the report, and these are mentioned in the guidelines which we refer for doing the clinical trials. So there are some softwares which helps you to generate the clinical study reports, which are very crucial in terms of regulatory compliance, because clinical evidence generation is a continuous process. And when you are doing a clinical research, either for a well-established drug or for any device which is being used for the first time, you have to maintain all these documents. You have to comply with all the requirements for, so the report should be perfect. So as I've told you, there are so many digital platforms and softwares. Sorry.
So your screen is not visible. So I think sir will be joining in a minute. Meanwhile, I request all the attendees, if you have any questions related to clinical research, please post your questions in the chat. So I can see so many of you are attending. If you have any questions related to clinical research regarding skills or job opportunities, please post in the chat and our experts will answer it during the live Q&A session. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Sorry, extremely sorry for the technical glitch. So
No problem, sir.
almost my slide was over. So I was just telling you that AI is there to support us in doing the clinical research in a better way. And definitely, we have to learn all these skills because in the future, these are the important skills which are going to be helpful for us in getting the job as well as working in the sectors in a more better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Indeed, AI is clearly becoming an important part of future ready clinical research careers. And thank you for sharing such valuable industry insights on AI tools in clinical research. It was really very informative, sir. Thank you so much. So, everyone, it's time for third session now. So, our next speaker is Ms. Kavita, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, ma'am. If you can please turn on your camera.
I think there is some quality issue with my camera.
Okay, okay. No issues, ma'am. Please proceed. You can share your screen and please proceed with the presentation.
Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much for confirmation, ma'am. So, hi everyone, good evening. I'm Kavita, and I'm going to show you how you can build a global career in clinical research, even if you are just starting out. Working on a clinical trial that impacts patients not just in India but across US, UK, and almost European countries. Imagine your work contributing to a drug that saves lives globally. That's the power of a clinical research career. So let's look deep into it. Let's start with the bigger picture. The clinical research industry is growing rapidly across the world. Every year, thousands of new clinical trials are conducted globally. Countries like India are becoming major hubs because of cost efficiency and skilled professionals. At the same time, technology like AI, electronic data capture systems, and remote monitoring and remote trials are transforming how studies can be conducted in an effective manner. So, what does this mean for you? It means more opportunities, more global exposure, and more demand for skilled professionals like you. Let's look into the top companies or top countries that hire the maximum clinical research candidates. When we talk about global opportunities, countries like US, UK, Canada, German, Australia are the leading ones. But here is the interesting part. India is not just participating, it's growing as a global hub. So, what I would suggest you is you can start here, gain experience, and then expand globally. So, like you can work in India for 1 to 3 years. You can learn entirely about clinical trials, and you can work into clinical trial operations. Then you can shift to global clinical companies. And what kind of companies that you can easily get into? There are two type of clinical research companies. Like one is a pharma company and another one is a CROs. So CRO is a core company which will be offering you so many professions and roles, like what Geetanjali ma'am have told, like clinical data management, clinical research associate, clinical research assistant, clinical project assistant, clinical project manager. So there are so many roles in clinical research industries. So CROs will directly offer you roles like clinical trial services. Companies like IQVIA, Syneos, Icon, and Paraxel will offer you so many clinical research roles. And if you want to get a little bit of higher salary, but at the same time uh, you wanted to get into pharma companies, you can you can gain experience from the CROs, then you can get into pharma companies. So companies like Pfizer, Novartis, Roche, Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, there are so many pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies and startup companies in clinical trials. So you can also get into pharmaceutical companies also once you gain experience from CRO. So when you want to learn, please get into CROs. When you want to earn more, you can get into pharma companies, but only if you have experience from a CRO, pharma companies will consider you. Then comparing India versus global hiring trends. One important insight I would tell you is most professionals don't directly jump to abroad because India has growing number of clinical trials and high demand for entry level roles. So what you guys can do is you can just earn a experience or build a experience and build a better portfolio in clinical trials for 1 to 3 years at least, and work with global teams, then move into international roles, because demand for experienced professionals globally is higher compared to India, and higher salaries and specialization roles is also there. So start in India, gain experience and move globally. Then you will be having a doubt now, who can get into clinical research? Literally, if you are a person with life science graduates like BSc biochemistry, microbiology, zoology, botany, see, any life science graduate is works for you. You can be a bachelorate in life science or masters in life science, so you can easily get into clinical research. Then pharmacy graduates like BPharm, MPharm, medical professionals like MBBS, BDS, BHMS, and biotech graduates, microbiology students, nursing, allied health sciences, all these kind of basic science degree holders can easily get into clinical research careers. Now, uh, coming to your next question, you will be asking me like, I have a life science graduate, I have a experience of 1 to 3 years in medical coding, medical billing, medical reviewing. Now what is the next step? How can you build your career into clinical research? What kind of qualifications that is essential? So having a basic life science degree is not sufficient. You should be having a clinical research certification from any well-known institution. So this certification will easily get or will easily connect you to CROs and pharma companies. If you hold a clinical research certification, then companies will easily hire you. Then knowledge of good clinical practice and certification. So anybody can complete good clinical practice certification from gcpnida.com. So you should have a basic knowledge of how a clinical trial should be done with ethical standards and scientific integrity, and understanding the clinical trial phases, like understanding the complete workflow of a clinical trial. So all these skills you can easily gain from a clinical research certification. So combining a life science degree with a research certification, you can easily get into clinical research field. And what are the technical skills that is very essential for you? Clinical trial documents. As a clinical research professional, you will be handling a number of trial documents. So if you miss some document, you are literally dealing with patients' lives. So if you miss one single document, then it's a very big huge mistake. So you should be very cautious and aware about what are the documents that you're handling and how you should be handling that. And case report forms, understanding data management basics, regulatory knowledge will help you to get easily placed, and pharmacovigilance basics, and software skills that adds original value. EDC tools like Medidata, Oracle Clinical, CTMS, Microsoft Excel, and Power BI. And optionally, you can learn SAS also. If you want to get deeply into data analytics, you can learn SAS also. So all these tools will help you to get into data management roles and clinical trial operational roles. And importance of internships. So why you actually have to learn a certification course and do a internship? It's very essential. Internships will provide you with provide you hands-on experience, a real-time clinical problem, and exposure to clinical trial data. What kind of data you will be dealing with, how you will be collecting, how you will be analyzing, all these things are very important. Understanding the trial workflow is another important thing. If you are a person wanted to get into clinical trial as a fresher, you should first understand the workflow of a clinical trial. Who starts, who initiates, who will be doing the trial, who will end the clinical trial. This workflow is very important, and it improves your job readiness also. When you complete an internship, it will easily help you to get a job. Certifications that boost your profile, not mandatory, but it will be a very added advantage for you. One is clinical research certification, GCP certification, Python and NLP, since the world is evolving into AI based tools. So Python and NLP is very important, and data analytics course like Excel and Power BI will add a optional advantage. Role of project work, why you are supposed to do a project in clinical trials. Clinical data analysis projects, protocol design projects, case study analysis, real world data set interpretation, all these projects will help you to understand the real time scenarios, real time problems, real time situations that you will be working when exactly in a clinical trial setup. So imagine if you are running a company, will you be hiring a fresher with the added experience like a project work, with a fresher who have completed a project work exactly like a original clinical trial scenario, or a fresher with no knowledge? Obviously you will be choosing the first one, right? So doing a project whenever you get any time, or whenever you have time, whenever you can come across any project works in clinical trials from Google or some reputed institutions, you can enroll for project works. It will be a added advantage and showcase your practical skills to the employers. And pathways in clinical research. So as a fresher, I would advise you to get into clinical research coordinator, because when you work in a ground level role like clinical research coordinator, you will be understanding the entire clinical trial easily, and you will be dealing with all kind of professionals like clinical study manager, hospital doctors, nurses, patients, regulatory person, and pharma companies. So if you are entering as a CRC, it will be the best decision of your lives, because it will help you to understand clinical research very easily, and more number of job opportunities are there for CRC roles, and CRA would be the next option. So when you gain experience as a CRC, you can get into CRA roles. And data analyst is a complete different role. So if you are a person completed Excel, Power BI, and data analytical tools, then you can get into data analyst, who will be handling the entire trial related data. And pharmacovigilance associate works with safety and adverse events reporting, and regulatory affairs specialist works with regulatory analyst and regulatory guidelines. So, how to enter into global opportunities? First step is gain 1 to 3 years of experience in India, work in global CROs like Icon, IQVIA, then improve your communication skills, apply for international roles or internal transfers. And with that note, I would like to give you some final takeaways. Clinical research is a rapidly growing industry, not only in India, across the world. A degree alone is not enough. You are supposed to gain a practical skills, certifications, and real world experience by doing some certain projects. Building a strong profile requires a combination of internships, project, and software knowledge. Starting your career in India and gaining experience can open doors to international roles and global CROs. Communication, adaptability, and continuous learning are key to long term success in this field. With the right strategy and consistent effort, global career opportunities are achievable for every aspiring clinical research professional. So, yeah, with that note, Thank you so much for all of your patience. Begin today, build consistently, and let the world of clinical research come to you. All the very best to everybody who have attended this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kavita ma'am, for such a practical and career-focused session. It was really very insightful. Thank you so much, ma'am. So everyone, it's time for interactive Q&A session now. I can see many questions in the chat. So I will be picking up questions and our experts will be answering it. So first question is from Nasreen that can AI replace the jobs? Brijesh sir, would you like to take up this question?
Yeah. So as if you can remember that I have started my PPT with that AI is not there to replace us to do the clinical research. It is only there to support us in performing the clinical research in a better way, because there are some limitations or some challenges are there which when we do manually, then we find that yeah, this is a difficult. So where a lot of manpower, lot of manual effort is required, there we can take the help of AI, like data cleaning is there, or if we want to improve the enrollment rate, all these factors are there where we can take the help. But at the end, you are the one who are going to use this skills, so it is not going to kill the job, it is going to make the things better.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I hope this answers the question, Nasreen. We have question from Safina Paul. So this is the question for you, Gitanjali ma'am. So Safina wants to know that you mentioned about skills. So how can college students develop such skills alongside formal education?
Okay, all right. Yeah, hi, Safina. So I think you're still in your college. So what happens here is, so yes, you can start with just the basics. Start learning about, start focusing on what stream you want to go first. Okay, start looking into the streams on how it works. So once you have an idea of what are the available streams or domains, then you can start with the basics of it. Okay, start try to learn the basic terminologies used, or the terms, like basic clinical terms and all those. So after that you can start with certain certifications, like Kavita ma'am said, there are GCP certifications available which you can take up, or you can even start enrolling in a course where you can learn the skills, like the tools whatever we use in clinical research. Let's say if you want to go into an CDM role, you need to know about the tools which we use, like the EDC systems. So if you want to get into PV, you need to know the coding part. Okay, so this way you can start. So you can take up the certification courses side by side, like simultaneously, and learn about the regulatory part. So depending on your domain, what you are interested in, you can start with this. So start with this, and then gradually you can. Move on to any certifications.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gitanjali ma'am. I hope this answers your question, Safina. Moving over to another question. The question is from Ajay Kolikar that does the clinical research course helps with medical reviewer as well? Kavita ma'am, would you like to take up this question?
Yes, ma'am. So, Ajay, as a medical reviewer, you can easily get into clinical research and pharmacovigilance roles because you are already aware about the medical terminologies and all. No? So, it is a very added advantage if you could have a basic clinical research understanding, then it will be a very easier opportunity for you to get into clinical research field.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kavita ma'am. We have a lot of questions, similar questions from the attendees. So, sir, I would like to you to answer this question. So, we have questions from the attendees that what about freshers? Like if they are simply MSc pass out, or they have done BSc in chemistry, or they are biotech freshers. So, can they pursue career in clinical research? If yes, then what are the job opportunities?
Yeah, definitely. So all of us starts from a fresher background only. So the thing is definitely if you are doing biotechnology, anything which is related to clinical research. So definitely you can start the career as an intern or as a clinical research coordinator, that is CRC role, because that is the initial profile in which through which we enter the industry, or we enter this system. And definitely when you are doing as a CRC, you get to learn so many things. You interact with patients, you interact with PI, you visit sites, you collect data. So you get overall experience that how the data collection things work, how the patient interaction things works, how the planning of the study works. And definitely at a CRC level, you can take your interest to that specific level where you are more interested. Suppose you are more interested in data, go for the CDM and the data management roles, other roles. If you are more interested in planning and doing the research, go for the CRC and CRA sort of roles. So definitely it will definitely depend upon your specific, because at the as you will be growing, you will be becoming more specific for a specific role. So but the initial stage to in get in the industry will be, I think, CRC, CTA, or internship, whatever you are getting. Definitely.
Thank
I
you.
hope
Thank you
I
so
hope
much,
my
sir.
answers, yeah, will be sufficient.
Definitely, definitely, sir. This was the most asked question from our attendees. And similarly, we have another like we have another question which is most frequently asked by clinical research aspirants. The question is from Kirtana, that can you highlight work from home job opportunities in this field? Like, what are the remote jobs available in this field, sir?
Okay. So in the COVID era, which what we have seen that we have tried to shift as much as possible for most of the work from home things. But yeah, definitely if you are a CRC and you have to collect the data from the patient, there are several aspects when you have to ask the patient that what is your age, what is your these things, how you are feeling, from how much time you are taking this medicine. So all these verbal things are there, then definitely the work from home chances are less there. But yeah, as I have told you, when you will be more specific, like you have to do only with the data set of things, you have to do the data management type of job, then the chances of getting the work from home will be very much. And for the CRA specific role, where the your main role is to visit the site, monitor the data, monitor the operational aspect of the clinical trial, then definitely you can get a work from home chances. But yeah, definitely at the time visits will be required, where you will have to visit the different sites globally or on the domestic level to support the trial. So depending upon your interest and your pathway, work from home can be planned.
Thank you so much, sir. It certainly answered the question. Uh, Moving over to another question. So everybody kindly note, we are running out of time, and due to time constraint, it won't be possible for me to take up all the questions. So last two questions I will be taking now. So we have a question from Sri Lakshmi, that which is the best remote re-entry uh, path for someone with CRC experience and 10 years of career break? Any of you would like to take up this question? Gitanjali ma'am, Kavita ma'am, sir. So if somebody is from is
So I
having a
can
break
take this
in
question.
career, yeah, sure, Kavita ma'am.
So if you want to enter as a remote job, means you can try for document writer, medical writer, and clinical trial assistant roles from Icon and IQVIA. They are offering a number of remote based jobs, and so you can try for that.
Thank you so much, Kavita ma'am. Last question we'll be taking from Sanket. So Sanket wants to know the institution or companies regarding clinical research for internships or projects in India. Gitanjali ma'am, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Hi Sanket. So you wanted to know about institutes and companies. The companies, if you take, they don't offer you a certification or something, but instead, for companies like pharma companies or any CROs, you can try for an internship option. So they certain companies do provide internships, so that will be a good entry point if you're focused on companies. But in case of institutes, if you want to take up any certification courses or internships, so there are like few institutes which offer it again depends, so they have different kind of certifications. So you can take up any ICMR certifications. Even Biotechnica is actually offering a certification on clinical research, and there are many academic institutions and universities who also offer certification, or like a research fellowship, so that can also be taken up. And so if you have if there is a possibility, so you can try for a experience in any of in any of the hospitals nearby. So you can just take up a 1 month or 2 month volunteership you can do, and you can learn about how things work there, at a hospital where a trial is running, so you can try to learn information from them as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gitanjali ma'am. Sir, Kavita ma'am, would you like to add something regarding the
My
institutes? Or
yeah.
yeah, yes.
So my only suggestion will be that definitely Gitanjali has told everything perfectly. So the thing is that in the initial stage, just focus on learning as much as possible uh, regarding the clinical research, and wherever you are getting a chance, definitely see regarding the internship, there is not any fixed thing like everywhere that yeah internship is there. But if you will keep trying for the companies, if you will keep connecting with them, definitely it depends upon the situation and the requirement, definitely you will get a chance. And once you get a chance, try to learn as much as possible, because at the internship and the CRC level, how much you will spend your time to upgrade your skills and the knowledge, that will definitely help you in paving the way for your future growth. That is from my side.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So, dear attendees, if you're someone who is serious about building a structured and industry aligned career in clinical research, you can join our 90-day clinical research training program with 1 month, 3 month, and 6 months project work, which is starting from 9th April 2026. So, it is designed for aspiring professionals. And this particular program, Clinical Research Comprehensive Course, it covers fundamentals to advanced topics of clinical research, offers in-depth knowledge of clinical trials, regulatory frameworks, latest industry advancements, and industry-relevant skills, along with hands-on project work to prepare you for real-world challenges in the clinical research field. So everyone, as we come to the end of today's webinar, I would like to thank all our speakers, uh, Dr. Brijesh Kumar sir, Gitanjali ma'am, Kavita ma'am for their valuable time, expertise and engaging presentations. Your session have truly enriched this webinar and provided our participants with clarity, direction and inspiration. A sincere thank you to all the participants as well for your active engagement, thoughtful questions, and enthusiasm throughout the sessions. Your curiosity and willingness to learn are what make initiatives like this meaningful. I hope today's webinar has given everyone a clear picture of how clinical research careers are expanding far beyond traditional CRA roles. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing many of you in our upcoming clinical research program batch. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.